It's another raw video from your favorite YouTube scout, Draftrawthentic. Yes, I'm finally here making another video. And like I said, it's a raw one, so there will be no edits. Yes, I'm finally making that other video. Like I said, it's a raw, won't be no edits. You already know the intro. So, before I get into what I'm about to talk about, I wanted to show you this. J style been established since basically this year. This is a company ran by my brother, my blood brother. We had the same parents too. But no, this is a company that's run by my brother where he sells clothes. If you visit the website j-style.com, you will find a plethora of clothes. They can get clothes for pretty much anything. If you put in I think if you email the company, they will be about a certain type of clothing. They'll be able to find that clothing for you. So if you're pregnant and you need clothing that you need to fit, then it'll find it. You know someone that's pregnant, obviously. If there's a situation like you lost a lot of weight and you need a certain type of clothing, you're really, really big or you're really, really small, they have every single size that you want, color, whatever, they will have it for you. And that's all you have to do. So please visit that website. But anyway, getting into what we're going to be talking about today, and that is the undrafted free agents of the 2018 NFL Draft. Obviously, I'm not going to talk about every single player, but I'm going to talk about some notable names that I have mentioned in previous videos that these guys, surprisingly, to me, went undrafted. So, you know what? And actually, before we just get into it, I want to shout out Alan Adkins. He was the subscriber that actually came to me in a comment section and said, you know, could I talk about the undrafted free agents for the Minnesota Vikings? And I told him, you know, I was going to be making this video anyway, but with him saying it, it kind of pushed it forward to say, hey, let me try to make it now. That was about a week ago, so today's been literally a whole 7 days, whole week. I told him I would make it in a week, and let's just get into it. Here we go. Now, because he asked for it, I will be doing his team first. So the Minnesota Vikings will be first. And the reason why they will be first is, surprisingly, if I was to rate these teams, this team has the most players that, you know, that they got as undrafted guys that I can really talk about. A lot of the teams on this list are like just one player or maybe two players, but nobody has gone past three players. They're the only team that went past three, and actually they have five. So yeah, let's just get into it. So the Minnesota Vikings, they picked up Jake Wieneke, wide receiver from South Dakota State. Sorry, almost butchered that. This is a wide receiver that, when I looked at him, he reminded me a lot of Adam Thielen. It's kind of a prototypical type of receiver that the Vikings have been getting as of lately. They picked up that German kid like 2-3 years ago named Mortez Beringer or something like that, Boringer, and he kind of reminds me of him in a way. It's you know, it's what they do, and it's kind of crazy that I did my top receiver video, and I named him as one of the players that I really, really liked, and I compared them to Adam Thielen, and it's kind of funny that the Vikings, who have Adam Thielen, actually picked this dude up as an undrafted free agent. So, you know, I think that it was I like that situation. I like where he went because he can learn from a guy like Adam Thielen, especially because, to me, he reminds me of him so much that it's kind of crazy. Now, I'm sorry, I'm looking through my notes right now. I just wanted to see something real quick. Okay, all right. That's all I wanted to see. The next person that they actually picked up that I saw that was just like, whoa, was Corey Robertson, wide receiver from Southern Miss. Man, like, do you understand? Like, Corey Robertson, I made a video talking about, it was like I said it was called preview for the offensive players of the 2018 NFL draft. It was just me kind of going through just particular players, who I thought was going to be the safest pick, who I thought was possibly be the biggest bust, and who was the sleeper. And Corey Robertson was my sleeper pick for the wide receiver. And the reason why is because he played like a madman to me, in terms of he loved attacking the football. He loved getting the runs after the catch. You know, this guy, he had a lot of good traits about him. And I think that the Vikings, once again, Adam Thielen, Stephon Diggs, Jake Winke, and now Corey Robertson, they're building up a really good receiving core for someone like Kirk Cousins. Now, to try to hurry this up along, I'm not going to try to give it like too long of a description of what I think about a player, so I'm going to try to hurry this up. So, with the next person I saw was Holton Hill, cornerback from Texas. One of the best tackling corners I saw. And he could double as being a safety, but I think that he kind of reminds me of just like a Tampa 2 corner. But I feel as though he could still play in a different scheme, a man scheme. He probably won't be his best fit, but he could still do it. The reason I like him, like I said, he's the best tackling corner that I saw in the draft. And I just think that he's got a lot of ability, which was surprising to me that he didn't get drafted. One of the next picks was Cameron Petaway. This is a running back that from Auburn that he got hurt, and obviously we know the person that took over, Kerryon Johnson. He ended up taking over and leading that team to where it was going to be. But I feel as though if Cameron was still playing, it would have been the same results. To me, he's a guy that he is a very underrated running back in this draft class, and I think the Vikings are really going to get something out of him. Now, Adkins actually asked about both Holton Hill, who I just talked about, and Hercules Matatafa from Washington State, defensive tackle. They say that he was going to be playing defensive end or maybe even linebacker. I wasn't the biggest fan of him, and I think the reason why I wasn't his biggest fan was more because he was playing out of position, and I don't know if he could play any other position that as well. I thought he was kind of slow sometimes as a defensive tackle. And I don't know if he's going to have the natural acceleration and burst to be a defensive end. And at the linebacker position, when you're just not sure how well he's going to move in coverage. So those are huge things. And then, like I said, he's playing a completely different position than when he was playing in college. So we will see what happens with him. Like I said, I'm not the hugest fan, so I actually won't expect him to be like a beast of a player. But I do expect him to, at least the Vikings give him an opportunity to at least try to, become something in the league. But who knows? So it is what it is. Now, staying with the NFC North, we're going to go to the Bears. Now, I want to also say, when I did this list, not every team is listed. So that's why this video shouldn't be too long. Hopefully, I get it under 20 minutes. So with that being said, the Bears chose Michael Joseph, one of the undrafted free agents, cornerback from Dubaki, I think that's how you say it. Very, very small school. He's a guy that has ball skills, has really good hands. He makes a lot of highlights for interceptions and stuff like that. But when you play at a very, very small school, you want to see total domination. And I don't know if he was so totally dominating, but he still played good. He was still a good, solid player. So, we'll see what happens when he comes to the league. He's one of those guys that you like the height, you like the weight, you like the speed. Now you see if he could put it together and become a pro in the NFL. Now, staying with the whole NFC, we're going to go to the East. And the Eagles picked up two guys. One was Joe Oatsman, defensive end for Central Michigan. I really like him as a pass rusher, and I believe he was a sleeper for the defensive end position for what I did the preview for the defensive players of the draft. So, he has some really, really good skills, and he led the league in sacks this past year. Also, Jordan Thomas, cornerback from Oklahoma. The reason I even saying his name is because it's an interesting name, because I feel as though he's gonna probably make the switch to safety and not be a corner. I think cornerback is not his future in the NFL. I think safety would be, but he's one of those guys that I think that he has the chance to get back to what they thought he was going to be in college. He has a really good chance. I'm not saying he's going to be good, but he has a chance to be that type of aggressive, solid player that he was 2 years ago in college, where this past year he wasn't, and that's why he went undrafted. Staying with the East, going to the Redskins, they chose Martez Carter. He, I believe, was the sleeper pick for the running backs. I really like Martez Carter, like a whole lot. Because he's from Grambling State, obviously is a really, really small school. And his team actually went on to win whatever championship, the highest championship they can win this past year. This is a dude that was an absolute bowling ball, and then he had a lot of speed on top of that. He got, reminds you a little bit of a Ray Rice, kind of reminds you of, I wouldn't say Darren Sproles because he's a little bit more of a bigger type of back. Somebody that came out recently, I forgot his name, but Tariq Cohen reminds me of him a little bit. But like I said, Martez Carter is just a little bit bigger, and guys just literally roll off him when they try to tackle him. I like the pick only because I don't think the Redskins have a starting running back, and he pretty much has a really good chance of possibly becoming a starter for the Redskins. So staying with the NFC, obviously I got the West and South next. So in the West Coast, the Cardinals chose Frank Jenda. He was a pretty solid linebacker, really good tackler, okay in coverage, nothing too crazy. But as an undrafted guy, he could actually have a chance to being a starter later down in his career. Then the Rams, going to the Rams, they chose Tigray Scales, who I really like a lot, linebacker from Indiana. He played with a lot of energy. I like a lot of energy for defensive players, but he also was willing to take on blocks, and that was a huge thing for me when I saw him, is seeing a linebacker take on blocks. It's not to say he's great in it, not to say he's great in coverage or he's a great tackler, but those two things really work out for me because that says, one, you can be a really, really good special team player, and two, you have two key things that will get you out there on the field. So as energy and taking on blocks, and for a linebacker, taking on blocks is very, very huge. So then going to the 49ers, they chose Tavares McFadden, DB from Florida State, corner, safety, wherever you want to see with that. He's one of those guys that I felt was like a hybrid where he can play corner or safety. And for the 49ers, we'll see where they put him. I don't think he's going to be a corner. I think personally he will be a safety, especially with them not re-signing Eric Reed. They're going to need some guys back there. So with Tavares McFadden, maybe, I know as an undrafted rookie, you usually don't get a shot to be a starter, but who knows? Maybe he will because this is a new team and they're trying to build something there. So we'll see. And then in the South, the Falcons chose Kurt Benkert. And I said Kurt Benkert was one of my who I felt was one of the sleepers at the quarterback position. But this is a situation where obviously he's going to be more of a backup and he may not be a starter, but maybe down the road, you can see him in preseason. If he plays good, his name can get put out there, just like, who's the kid that played for the Bengals and then went and signed with the Bills? I forgot his name, but he's one of those guys that his name was being put out there and then all of a sudden he's there. You know what I mean? Or Charlie Whitehurst is probably the best example where he was a young guy, rookie that played pretty well, and then his name was being put out there saying, hey, maybe he could be pretty good, maybe a future franchise quarterback, who knows? But we'll see with Kurt Benkert later on down in his career. Then the Panthers chose Brendan Mahone. If you saw my Panthers breakdown, I already talked about Brendan Mahone, so I won't go into much into that. But obviously me saying my name, I think he's a good player. The Buccaneers chose Godwin Igwebuike. I don't. It's hard to say his last name, but he was a DB from Northwestern, strong safety. I love the way he played, the energy, everything that he put into it. Obviously Northwestern is a small school, but he played like he was better than a lot of his opposition. I'll just say that he played like he was better than his opposition. So I like the pick for the Bucs, especially they need help on the defensive side of the ball anyway. So it is what it is. Now going to the AFC. Well, really quick before I go into the AFC, Riley Ferguson and Dearness Johnson. Riley Ferguson from Memphis, quarterback, and Dearness Johnson, running back from South Florida. Those are two guys that are still free agents. I think that those two guys are pretty darn good players and to me, should have got an opportunity as undrafted guys on the team. We'll see later on down on the road where they go, but I just want to put their names out there before I go through the list. So going to the AFC, I'm going to start with the East. And in the East, the Bills chose Levi Wallace. If you know me and me talking about some cornerbacks, in this draft, Levi Wallace was one of my more underrated guys that I really really like a lot. I liked him more than the other two corners. One, Tony Brown, who I think went to the Chargers as an undrafted free agent. I'm not sure. I didn't even write his name down because I don't think he's that good. And Anthony Averett, who actually went to my Ravens, which I don't really really like. I wish we would have got Levi Wallace, but it is what it is. He's one of those guys that for him it was more of a he just kind of became a starter and not like, oh, he's not good. It was just kind of like nobody don't know where he'll be. He was like a walk-on type dude. I read his story a little bit, so it is what it is. But I think that's a great pick, and the Bills once again got another cornerback that's going to really be able to make some way for them. Then the Patriots got J.C. Jackson, cornerback from Maryland. I represent my Maryland boys, but J.C. Jackson is an aggressive corner. He wasn't the most consistent corner, but you like his aggressiveness with that energy as a cornerback. So it is what it is. I think that Bill Belichick can get some stuff out of him, especially the history that he has, especially recently with a Malcolm Butler. And then in the North, the Steelers were the only thing that got somebody noteworthy, and that was Quadric Henderson, gadget type of wide receiver from Pitt. It is what it is. I just wanted to put his name out there because he is a good, solid gadget type of receiver. Then the only team in the West that I thought picked somebody pretty good was the Chiefs, and that was Byron Pringle, probably the best deep threat, one of the best deep threat receivers that you're going to see in the draft. And it's kind of and I don't do combine stuff, but he ran a 4.5 flat. But he plays faster than that. So I just want to put that out there. It's kind of Torrey Smith like. Like, Torrey Smith ran like mid 4.4s, but he plays like a 4.3 guy. So that's why I don't use combine numbers. But I wanted to put that out there. Maybe that was the reason that they dropped a little bit. I don't know. It may have been some off-the-field stuff. Who knows? But Byron Pringle is a solid receiver from Kansas State. And then the Chiefs also chose Chase Linton, quarterback from Marshall. This dude has one of the best release and one of the best arm strengths in the draft. So, I know they got Patrick Mahomes, but it kind of goes side to side. I mean, you have Patrick Mahomes and you have Chase Linton. They're almost kind of the same quarterback. The biggest difference is that Patrick is a little bit more athletic, so it is what it is. Then, just to wrap this up, in the South, there were three teams that had some noteworthy guys. The Colts chose Sky Moore, a linebacker from South Carolina. They chose Darius Jackson, linebacker. I'm sorry, not Darius Jackson. Darius, what was the dude name? I'm messing this up. Darius Leonard, the other linebacker from South Carolina. So it made sense for them to really, get a guy like him, and they're going to build on that defense. I think it's a really good pick for him. They also chose Stephen Ishmael, wide receiver from Syracuse. They got three receivers in the draft, so they added another receiver as an undrafted guy. To me, he's probably a better receiver than some of their later round guys. So we'll see what happens with that. But it's a good solid pick. I like that. The Jags chose Quentin Meeks, cornerback from Stanford. I really like Quentin Meeks. Aggressive, smart type of corner. I think that it's the type of corner that they're looking for. And it's kind of crazy because he would remind you a little bit of A.J. Boye. So, it makes sense. Then they also chose the Jags chose Darius Jackson. This is what Darius Jackson went from Jacksonville State. He was the second best defensive player on Jacksonville State. And it's one of those things where the best one is a guy that got drafted in the 4th round. So it gives you some perspective of what I think about him. I think he's a really good guy, very versatile, coverage, tackling, pass rushing ability. He can do all three. So that's why I really, really like him. Then the Titans, the last team of noteworthy of players that they chose, one was Nick Del Luca. I didn't get to watch a lot of tape of him, but I did like what I saw in a way, some cover skills, some tackling ability. He was never out of place, and he didn't do a lot of things wrong. So that's why I really like him. And also Akram Wadley, who was one of the more underrated running backs in terms of being an undrafted guy. I couldn't believe he went undrafted. But I can understand with They said he may have a little bit of character concerns, but also the 40 time was pretty bad for a guy that small. You can't be small and slow. You know what I mean? So it is what it is. But anyway, that was the list of to me, the notable undrafted free agents of guys that I really, really like. Please thank Alan Atkins from, requesting this. I did the video, so you already know what it is. If you want to comment on this video and want to see me do anything else, talk about anything else, please comment on that video and I'll do it for you, especially if you're a subscriber. Please hit the like button if you like this video. If you want to see more, obviously, if this is the first time looking at me and seeing me, please subscribe so you can get more. And like I said, already comment, share this video so other people can join, other people can comment, and we can debate about certain things. We can debate about the draft, and we can build this whole draft community. Once again, this is Draft Raw Authentic. I thank you guys for watching. Goodbye.